take us through this. Meg, I had never heard of this Bechdel test at all. It's widely used, is it?
So the Bechdel test started in 1985 in a really kind of innocent way. It was a cartoon strip that a cartoonist in New York called Alison Bechdel had done from this strip called Dykes to Watch Out For. And it's two women deciding to go to the cinema and they want to see a movie, but they're like, listen, we're going to have three criteria. We want two women talking, two named women talking to each other and not about a man. And then they go to the cinema and there's like nothing there that they can see as they come back. So it was just an innocent cartoon strip in 1985, but something resonated with women. So they started applying, and men, and film critics, and they started applying this to films to see which films or how many films passed the Bechdel test. And it's quite surprising. Now that you know it, I bet you'll watch out for it.
Well, I better look completely differently at films. It's actually incredibly depressing, this, isn't it, that it appears to be getting worse?
Well, one of the things that 100 Women found was that not only is it depressing, but the elements of what can pass the Bechdel test is even more depressing. So, for example, Call Me By Your Name, an Oscar-nominated film this year, just about passes because two women have a conversation about smoothie. So that passes. And also Spotlight, another great Oscar-winning film about Boston Globe investigative journalists uncovering the priest sort of scandal, the abuse scandal, passes because one woman asked another woman for a glass of water. So it's the quality of the conversation that we also need to look to as well.
And it's also, I guess it's not looking at diversity, is it? It's not looking at ethnicity or disability being shown on screen.
There are so many elements to it. So if you raise the bar even more to women of colour talking to each other, or like you say, a woman and two disabled women talking to each other, the thing changes completely. The bar, it goes completely, the bar's lowered completely. So it's those elements that people say, we don't just want to be shoehorned into conversations. That's what female film critics are saying. We want it to be meaningful conversations that actually resonate and actually galvanise represent that women have conversations in real life, like you and I do, about things that are way more than men. In fact, have we ever talked about a man, Chloe?
I think probably not, Maggie, if the truth be known. Thank you ever so much for coming to talk to us about that. Well, let's talk about that and also other things Oscar-related with Helen O'Hara, who is from Empire magazine. Helen, thank you so much for coming in. Did you know about the Bechdel test?
I did, yes.
You did? Why is it so depressing that it's getting worse and that women seemingly don't talk to each other about anything other than men?
I'm not sure it is getting worse. I mean, it may be in the small sample of Oscar winners, because that is, of course, such a small number of films. Sure. But I take hope from the fact that this year, 4 of the Best Picture nominees are female-led, female-focused stories. And historically, that's been rare. So few films are about a woman character in principle. It's something like 12% of Hollywood films. So actually the fact that it's 4 out of 9 this year is a real step in the right direction and something that gives me real hope.
Let's talk about the things that I guess we expect to dominate the Oscars away from the films. We'll talk about the films in a moment. Me Too campaign. I mean, if you look back, how many times have there been cutaways of Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey? Is there going to be a different mood to this, a different feel to Sunday night ceremony?
I think so. And I don't know yet if they're planning another sort of black dress protest
like they did the Golden Globes.
Golden Globes and the BAFTAs. They've kept that very much under wraps. I'm not sure they will this time, but I think what we will see if they don't do that is lots of Time's Up pins, lots of people talking about it, both on the red carpet and in winners' speeches. It's going to be very present. Presenters may reference it and so on. I think it's going to be very, very much a colour to the proceedings and a presence on the night.
There's loads of issues as well, because I mean the Oscars had its problems last year. We'll talk about the envelope in a minute. But also Oscars So White has been such a massive problem for quite a few years now. And things haven't moved that much. But are they starting to move?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I mean, the front runners in each of the acting categories are probably white this year, but there are at least some nominees of colour, which is better than there have been in some recent years. So I think that the new and more diverse voters that the Oscars brought in, that the Academy admitted, is going to help the conversation. The fact that something like Lady Bird is nominated, that something like Get Out is nominated, is a real step in the right direction. Call Me By Your Name as well. You know, there is some diversity to the stories being told this year that maybe we haven't seen in the past.
we've got to talk about the envelope issue last year, which everyone will remember. They announced the wrong film for Best Film.
Best Picture.
I mean, of all, if it was a one lower down that maybe people didn't pay as much attention to, which is clearly no help for that person. Exactly. They are clearly saying this is never going to happen again. Yes. Presumably there's going to be references to it, though.
Oh, yes. I think we can expect it, front and centre, really, in Jimmy Kimmel's opening monologue. He's obviously back to host again. I think he had good Oscars, and then obviously that kind of coloured everything last year, so maybe that's why he wanted to come back straight away. So I think he'll reference it in his monologue. I would expect some of the presenters to reference it as they're opening their envelopes. And I think there'll probably be some kind of explanation of what they're doing differently to ensure this never happens again. I think we will literally be shown that something has changed.
I've got to ask you really quickly, who do you think is going to win the big ones?
The smart money is probably on 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. I have to say I'm pulling for Get Out for Best Picture, and I think it might sneak in because I think it's the most relevant and most sort of politically important of all the nominees this year.
Thank you ever so much for coming in. Appreciate that.